Any questions? What if I forgive somebody and the fellow is not even showing any way that he knows that I've forgiven him? What should I do? That's a decent question, Abby. When you forgive, you have forgotten. He didn't do it. Do you understand? That person did not do it. That's what it means. You have to understand the import of it. That is how God wants us to live. That's how God lives with us now. Do you think if God marked some of the things we did before we got born again, that we'll be able to stand as pastors? We won't be able to stand. I remember listening to a message, and the fellow was saying that every time we go to God and say, Lord, forgive me for that which I did this, that is talking about the things we did before we got born again. That God is stumped and wondering, what is he talking about? Because there's no memory of it in the mind. God does not remember it at all. Those things only attach back when we backslide. Then the books are reopened. Otherwise, they are sealed and wiped out, forgotten. That's what makes people say that once you are saved, you are saved. But they fail to realize that you cannot continue in iniquity and say that you are saved. Shall we continue in sin that grace might abound? God forbid. Let us recognize that what God is asking of us, like I said earlier, is something that can only be done where the nature and life of Christ is in us. He is the one who forgives and forgets. He has forgiven us and has forgotten. We must develop that nature that forgives and forgets. The Lord will help us in Jesus' name. Amen. Oh, you have a question? I will give him the mic. Let him ask his question.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
The question I want to ask is, if someone offends you and in cause of the offense, maybe you curse him, and maybe later you now realize that maybe you wouldn't have cursed him, with that curse still...
He can't stand that you've forgiven him. That's why we are not supposed to be raising those issues of you are cursing somebody, I will curse you. That is what the Bible actually means when it says, be angry and sin not. You can be angry, but don't use your mouth to commit sin. Forgive all men. I think let me even look at that. I think it's in Ephesians chapter 4, from verse 26 to the end. It says, be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. Verse 31. It says, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. These are things that we bottle in as a result of unforgiveness. In verse 32 it says, and be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. Yes, Peter, you wanted to say something?
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Please, I want to know if it is wrong after forgiving someone for you to keep a distance because you're trying to avoid problem.
Ordinarily, I would say, if I have forgiven someone, I've forgiven the person. There's no need to keep a distance. But it doesn't mean that you will now overly go and... just picture, if you say you have forgiven someone, like what we've said now, you have forgiven the person, you have forgotten the matter, it's as if he didn't do it. What else is there? Why are you keeping a distance?
Because the person is still portraying the same character. And the person can still repeat that same act if the both of you are still close enough. It's not as if you're keeping malice with the person, but that closeness is no more there anymore.
Well, obviously, in some instances, the closeness will not be there. But what you're supposed to do now is to begin to pray for him. You're supposed to pray for him. And if he does anything, if for any reason you are in a position to help him, you must help him.
I was trying to avoid using finance as an example because, but it's the most common thing that can actually cause a problem. There's somebody. Let me use somebody in my office. There's somebody in my office that's in the nature of borrowing money and not paying. You have to remind her that, see, I gave you so and so amount of money, or yeah, give me back. I didn't intend to give it to you as dash.
Well, the forgiveness of debt usually does not include a debt owed in terms of money. Do you understand? If somebody is owing you money, it's an obligation he has to pay it.
Okay.
He has to pay for the money. He has to pay the money he borrowed because he borrowed it. The only thing that the Bible tells the believer is not to go and hold him by the scruff of the neck and say, you must pay me, you must pay me, you must pay me. But it's a polite letter, nice letter. That's all we have to do. You can't send, what do they call them? Debt collectors after him. You can't. As a Christian, you cannot. Now, if that person has the money but is refusing, you can send debt collectors.
How will you know?
No, you will see the lifestyle. You see his lifestyle.
Oh, God.
But look at a poor man. A poor man who cannot afford it. What do you do? Yes, you know he can't afford it, so you don't go there and start taking.
There are certain people that can live a kind of lifestyle where you can never disguise, yes, pretense, live under pretense, just as if. Because there was a period you talked about debt cancellation when you were preaching. You said, even if you're being owed by someone, you can let it go if you find out that the person cannot pay your debt.
Yes.
That was what you preached there, and it's written in the Bible.
Yes.
So if this person is trying to pretend or live under this guy,
let him go. But you know that he cannot borrow from you again tomorrow.
No, they can still walk up to you again.
Then you tell them no.
Because it has happened to me.
No, it is now your prerogative to say no. Because you cannot borrow money you did not repay, then you return to borrow again. At that second time, you have it is at that point that you can now raise the issue that have you forgotten that you borrowed money from me before? I will pay. Well, I think you should pay that one first. Otherwise, the best I can do for you is to say, okay, the one that you borrowed me, take it and go. Yes, use it. Don't worry. Don't pay back. Then the matter ends. You are free from. He knows from that day on that he cannot come to you to ask for. I always prefer people to say to me, give me, than say to me, borrow me. If you say borrow me, or which the actual word is lend me, like we pidgin says borrow. But if he says, please borrow me, I'll say to you that you are going to repay this thing. But if you say, give me, what it does for me is, number one, if you wanted to borrow 50,000, which I can't afford, but I'm now squeezing out, I'm expecting you to pay me 50,000 back. But if you say, give me 50, and I don't have 50, I can give you 10 or 20. It's dash. You are a stingy person. Yeah, I say 10, you say or 5. Somebody's asking for 50,000.
I'm talking from experience. So.
Which experience?
I'm talking from experience. I've had people say, lend me money. Until tomorrow, it's been 6, 7, 8 years. I've now said, okay, no problem.
They can't ask you for it again. They can't ask you to come and lend again.
There are people that have even come to meet me, okay, just for this, for so and so, for school fees, for this. And they say,
you didn't ask the first one they borrowed?
No, as in I'm just...
They never borrowed at all?
They've never borrowed at all. And they have a funny way of using emotional blackmail on you. Like,
well, it is the person that can be blackmailed emotionally that is blackmailed. Because school fees is okay, but if I don't have, I don't have. And if I believe that you will not be able to pay, then it is me deciding to give you. Do you understand? I can give you and say, don't bother to pay back. There's no need going to somebody, you know this person There's nothing, this person, if you shake the fellow upside down 10 times, he's not going to be able to pay you. The person now says, I want to borrow. And if, you see this, if the person is borrowing money for sustenance, the Bible actually expects you to give him. It doesn't expect you to borrow.
The person is borrowing money for business. And you expect that the person is going to pay within a period of time.
But the question is,
it has not happened.
Wait. The business that he did, let's say he borrowed money to prosecute a contract, have they paid him? So that is why, that is why, if you want to get into that kind of transaction, due diligence must be followed. You cannot, that is why you bankers are the ones who tell us to do domiciliation into an account. You must follow due diligence. But if you borrow somebody money and he says, when they pay me, then you have to wait until they pay him. Now, the one that is business, you actually can ask him, bro, haven't they paid? You are still owing me so and so. Do you know that is business? But the person, wait now, I'm giving you biblical precepts now. But the person who says, please, I need some money to eat, you can't go and harass him for money. Except you see him suddenly. The person who is owing you 10,000 naira that he borrowed to eat is now going to Chinese restaurant. You say, Oga, have you forgotten that you're owing me money? You have to pay me. You know, so there are some things that, there are some people, when you say, when I say to some people, I borrow you this money, I want them to act responsibly by coming to meet me to say, I want to pay back that amount that I borrowed. If in my mind I had actually dashed them, when they come to say, I want to pay back, I'll say, take it. Most times, when people say, borrow me, and I look at the amount of money, and I give it to them, I want to see who this person is. If the person brings back the money, I say, okay, take it. Because I actually don't need it. Even if I'm broke at the time he brings it, I say, take it. Because you probably need it. So keep the money. But that you use the money for business, the money was paid, you now started living a big life, and you forgot about me. You're not serious. Even if you say, let me pay a token. I'm owing you, let's say you're owing, the fellow borrowed 100,000. They've not paid, but he has some money from somewhere, and he pays, please take 20. Please take 20. I can understand that. But that he collected the money and is enjoying himself, and 100,000 is hanging. I will get debt collectors to go after him. That's a simple, because that is business. But that he used it for his, what do you call it now? Basic needs. That's a different case. If somebody comes to me and says, I want to pay my school fees, or I want to pay my child's school fees, in which school? He says, one of these public schools around. If I give him that money, I've forgotten it. But in which school? Loyola Jesuit. Something is wrong with that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You didn't say another school is Loyola Jesuit you want to borrow money to pay for. And then when you have now borrowed the money, you don't want to pay. No, I'm coming after you. At least let debt collectors come and meet you. Because as far as I'm concerned, Loyola Jesuit is a luxury. It's not a necessity. Necessity is any other school. That's necessity. But Loyola Jesuit and some of these other big schools of 1 million naira, that is a luxury. You can't afford it, withdraw your child from that school. Go to a school that you can afford. There's no need to, what are we doing? You borrow money to pay your child's school fees in a place of 1 million. But you're borrowing money to pay your child's school fees in a place of 20,000, that's understandable. 30,000, that's understandable. But you start talking of 500,000, come off it. You better withdraw that child from that school and go to a school where it is cheaper. Does it answer your question?
I wanted to ask, okay, since it has come up now, let me ask. You've lent somebody money, and over time, probably the person has, for one reason or the other, the person has not been able to pay you, and okay, you've been quiet about it, and You now, at that point in your life, you need that money, and you go and meet the person. How far? You can decide. Probably two of you have discussed on the mode of payment and all that. And from the look of things, the person may not be able to meet up, but it's a demand. You have to try as much as possible.
You see, the issues are this.
Because for you, there's really nowhere else.
Wait. The point is not you now. You don't make demand because of your need. You are making demand because of a debt owed. Understand the difference. It's not about because I have a need. Because if it's because you have a need, you will kill the man even when he cannot afford it. It's because he owes a debt. Now, this man who is owing, this man or woman who is owing you, the question is, what did they use the money for? So the next question is, has the business paid? That's what you want to find out. Have they paid from that business? Okay. Oh, they didn't pay from that business. I bet he did other businesses. Did they pay? These are things that we're talking about here. Your assessment will tell. There's no need to go and hold somebody that doesn't have blood. If he goes to hospital and his neighbor is dying, the doctors will say, bro, we don't know how we are going to save this man. If we take blood from you, you may die before we get the blood to him. So keep your blood. Let's look for how to. That is what they are going to tell you. So somebody who doesn't have blood cannot give you what he doesn't have. So what you need to find out from such a person is, has this person been able to get the money from his business? Which is why in banking, for example, you always tie your lending to a particular project or contract, failing which there is a collateral that you fall back on. But in the case where you have no collateral, then you are tied to that particular business and that guy. Now, we have a regime in Nigeria where people are charging interest that is, as far as I'm concerned, is usury. You cannot charge somebody even 5% interest in this economy. Doesn't make sense, as far as I'm concerned. I ask a question. A man does business. What is his percentage profit? 30% is usually the agreed profit percentage of the person. If you say 5% a month, and that person's business, that contract that fellow is doing is a federal government contract, you know that for 6 months he's not going to get it. Is that not so? Will he be paid in 6 months? Do you think federal government will pay him in 6 months? So at 5% per month, what have you done? You've actually wiped out his profit. So as far as God is concerned, what you did was you led to usury.